So would love to hear from you. We can see your comments. We are live on both YouTube and Facebook right now. So if you are live, let us know. Say hi. If you are on
Please say hi.
Facebook, you should see a link to give StreamYard permission to show us your comments. If you would do that, that would be awesome. So we can actually see your name with your comment and know who you are. But we're really excited. This is going to be a fun time to hang out and chat about behind the scenes of running a business.
Yeah, basically yesterday or 2 days ago, Megan and I were just like, we should do a live stream. And we're like, yeah, what do we need to do that? And then we just decided. And so this is very casual, cozy casual on the couch. Like I'm just hanging out on the couch right now and we're chilling. And we wanted to talk a little update on like how much our company has grown and changed. Megan's here, which is like a big deal. I don't know if everyone like saw that or knew that announcement. So we'll go through like some of the updates and cool things that have happened over the last year and a half, 2 years. And then we just have like a fun casual stream for you guys today, talking about really like some of the biggest lessons that not only we've learned growing and scaling this company in the last couple of years, but even just this week, we had a lot of like lessons, and Megan and I were having some really great deep conversations this week, and we were like, we should share this. Like, this is the kind of shit that comes up when you're growing a company that maybe not a lot of people talk about, but also that's just like so valuable to remember how you felt in this moment. And like, it's so easy to forget the lessons that the universe keeps like smacking us on the head with over and over and over again. And so I'm excited to share what some of those have been for us this week, this year, and going forward. And yeah, I'm really excited. We're going to kick off by sharing a couple of like wins and challenges. So one of the things we like to do every week with our clients is ask them about like their CEO moments, which is like a moment when you made like a really big CEO decision, or you felt like you were working in your zone of genius, or you felt like you were just like in your CEO zone, or in Megan's case, the VP zone. And we can talk about that. And then and then a CEO challenge, which is like something that's really causing some bottlenecks or some struggle or some internal turmoil as you continue to grow here.
Yeah. Do you want to kick us off with your CEO moment?
Yeah. Before we do, I think we should reintroduce ourselves.
Oh, that's the one
idea. Thing I forgot about.
That's a great idea. You go first.
Okay. Well, hello. I'm Mariah Cause. I am the founder and creator of MariahCause.com is where you can find all our stuff. We are like an online education and consulting company and mentorship company. We primarily work with clients to scale their high-ticket group coaching programs without sales calls, and also building the company sort of beyond that sales funnel and the marketing and the sales and all that kind of stuff, building the entire back end of their company around their values and their beliefs and all that kind of good stuff. So that's me. And Megan, please introduce yourself.
Yeah, I'm Megan Menz, and I'm the VP Operations at Mariah Cause. I've been working with Mariah in various capacities since 2015, which is mind-blowing to think about how long that's been. And I oversee the programs department, the operations department, and I live in Houston, Texas, and I have a little 9-month-old daughter and 2 dogs that bark that thankfully are getting groomed today. So we shouldn't hear them, but we might hear a baby cry. Who knows?
That's fine.
But yeah, that's a little bit about me.
Love that. See, you shared like good details. I just was here's the website. Here's the boring details. Okay, cool. So in terms of, let's go ahead and get into our CEO moments, VP moments, CEO challenges, VP challenges. I did not prepare anything. So let's see what comes up off the top of my head. I feel like our win for me, my CEO moment this week was having our conversation earlier this week where both Megan and I realized we were both feeling a little frazzled and discombobulated and not like we hadn't gotten on the same page in a couple weeks, and we had kind of been like getting, when you just kind of feel like you're like, I'm kind of all over the place and I forget like what I'm supposed to be doing and why I'm supposed to be doing it, which is important. So we took some time, we got on this like super long like vision call, and it was really great. And I feel like that was definitely my win, just to be able to receive your feedback and your honesty and truth that in those moments was really powerful.
Yeah, I was kind of an emotional call for both of us, I
So
think. If
emotional.
you are a business owner or in leadership in a company, um, you know, there's just a lot of feelings that happen. Even if you're really
Yes.
strategic, you're really intentional, um, we're humans still. And so things kind of build sometimes. And I'll talk about this more when we get to
Mhm.
challenges, but I think that is often a challenge for me, is holding space for a lot of different feedback and a lot of different emotions.
Yes.
But it was a great call. I'm glad we had that. And it was not only good for us to connect, but it was good for us to both be honest and transparent, especially when you're leading with someone else. It's important to have those moments to connect and just be brutally honest and hear and hold space for both people's honesty, even when it's not easy to receive. I think, Mariah, you've always been so good at creating that space since we started working together. I've always appreciated it.
I think I'm a glutton for punishment. I'm always like, tell me all the bad things. Tell me everything. Tell me how you really feel. Like, let me have it. Let me have it. Because I just know that that's on the other side of that is totally a breakthrough. By the way, if you all are watching, and we would love to be able to see your comments. So go ahead and, we are streaming to both YouTube and Facebook. If you're on Facebook, go ahead and allow StreamYard to put your comments in here so that we can see them coming up.
Yeah, let us know if you're here.
Hello.
Let us know where you're watching from, and if you resonate or relate to any of this. It'd be really helpful to know and to get to kind of chat. We're here live, so that we can actually interact with you while we're sharing what's going on for
Yeah,
us.
we'll answer your questions, whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
so what is your win this week?
Well, my win is related to our conversation we had on Monday, because not only did we start out kind of having that honest talk, but it really transitioned into action and decisions and clarity related to the struggles we'd been going through. So for me, it was planning out 2022. I always feel like there's a fine line with annual planning. You don't want to do too much where it's a waste of time, or it's procrastinate planning, as I call it.
Mhm.
But as our company grows, forward planning becomes more and more important. And a lot of what Mariah and I were feeling, was a lack of that clarity and a lack of simplicity and setting clear expectations for everyone so that everyone in the company can feel good. So
Yep.
planning out 2022 is a huge win, because I feel like we hit that balance of planning intentionally. And I think you and I both had just a huge sigh of relief after we were done going through and planning out. We have a company of 20, like I said. So we do a 4-day
Crazy.
work week. So it's also like, which Fridays are we in office? Which Fridays are we out office? If we're going to implement anything new company wide, where does that fall? Promotion. So anyways, it was a huge, huge win. And then I would say my second win is also just doing this live stream. I mean, Mariah and I have
Mm.
talked for weeks about kind of wanting that creative connection, wanting that creative outlet. And we used to do this all the time. So
Yeah,
it's really exciting and a big win to just even be like ripping the Band-Aid off and being live and chatting.
it's so good. It kind of took me a minute to like find our foot. I'm like, whoa, but now I'm
I
ready.
know. I know. It's like when you haven't been live in a while, I think there's a bit of a learning curve or a readjustment.
I was sweating before we got on here. Now I feel good. Yeah, that is so good. I love those wins. Forward planning has become super important as our company grows. People really need to know like what's coming down the pipeline, and we always have like Megan's the inventor of intuitive execution and what that means and what that looks like. And so we're trying to find that balance and integration of intuitive execution and doing things as your intuition tells you, like, this is the right move. Let's be flexible. Let's be in flow. And of course, you have a team of 20 people who are looking at you and being like, what's happening next week? Like, can we have some clarity? So we're trying
Yeah.
to find the balance.
Yeah, it is. Would you say that is your CEO challenge, or do you have a different CEO
Yeah,
challenge?
I think continue. Oh, you know what? That's a good one. I didn't prep one. So I think that is a good one, is really trying to find what feels true for me in that integration. I don't know if balance is the right word, but in that integration of intuitive execution and sticking to the dates that we set and sticking to the promos that we put in place and sticking to the, due dates and deadlines, which is like not my strong suit at all. And we're really trying to like build the company around both. And we want to make sure that people have, the company, the other humans that are, working with you know what's coming down the pipeline, but that I think it is my greatest challenge because I'm so not good at deadlines and schedules. And I just want to be like, well, every day is different depending on how I feel. And that's not really like, it's interesting the journey we've been on to build a company where like I have built the space to do that in my lane, but that it doesn't have a detrimental impact on the rest of the team and the rest of the company and like what's people are already working on. So we're just always finding ways to be like, Mariah can do her fun stuff and it fits in with the bigger picture.
I think that's a challenge a lot of CEOs have because most people who are entrepreneurial have inspired ideas. They want to take fast action. They want to have tons of flexibility and freedom. And I know I've had my own business for a long time. So it's been something I've even experienced through that lens where it's tough to know, can I grow a team without sacrificing those things? Can I grow a company or does growing my team and growing my company mean I can't be flexible and be inspired? And I think a lot of our clients have wondered that as well.
I've been talking about that with a couple of people a lot this week. And that's what I would like to say is like having the team and the company at the size that it is what has given me the most freedom I've ever experienced because I have all this. The thing is that now I have all this time and spaciousness and freedom, which means I'm constantly coming up with new ideas and being like, oh, we should do this, we should do that. That is a function of having so much time and so much spaciousness and freedom where my brain is like, woo. So not being in the weeds, I think opens that up. And it's just about knowing where to direct that creative energy. And for me, on a personal level, it's also been a practice in doing that on a personal level. Like, okay, you have a creative idea, go write a song and like make some art. You don't need to necessarily like start up a new business today with the, you know what I mean? Yeah. And so, it's been really great. And I think if people are sitting there thinking like, oh, I've had that conversation with people this week, and every other week where it's like, oh, I would never want to have a team because then I'm like beholden to them. And I'm like, they are literally the reason you will have any freedom whatsoever. So grateful.
So grateful. I love our team.
Let's go in and let's talk about a couple of little like company updates, like big picture, what's been going on the last year or so, or a little more than that. And then we're going to talk about our biggest lesson that really kept coming up for us this week, which has been really great. Before we do get into that, I will say I'm launching a mastermind. So everyone for years and years has always asked me to put together a mastermind. I've always been like, no, I have yet to see a mastermind that, is something I like is run the way that I would want to run it. I don't know if mastermind is the right thing for me. But on the other hand of that exact same thing is like me looking at it and realizing, wow, there's really a giant gap in the kind of mastermind that I would want to be a part of. And that I've seen what's missing. I've seen what works and what doesn't. And so I am putting together a mastermind of high-level business owners. It is business model agnostic, so you don't have to be running a high-ticket group coaching program. You could be running low-ticket self-study courses. You could be doing coaching. You could be doing services. It's really like it's not about having one specific business model. It's much bigger than that. It's for people who are at that higher level of business in that $500,000 to $1 million range. And what I found is we've helped dozens and dozens of our clients get to those like big milestones. And then what happens is they're like, okay, Mariah, you taught me how to make all this money, but now I suddenly have like an actual company I have to run. And like, how do I run a company? Like, this is no longer like, I know how to do the launches. I know how to make the sales. I know how to do the funnel. Like, now I have a company and a team and like everything is breaking and what am I doing? And so I really wanted to create a space where people who had already gotten to this level where I think there's a huge gap. I think that a lot of people don't know where to go when they're at that stage in business. and they're going to pass through the 7-figure portal to the next level. There's not a lot of places to get support there, especially in a way that is aligned with how you want to grow your business in a way that's sustainable, not based on hustle or external FOMO pressure or anything like that, which is something we're going to talk about today. But really wanted to create a space for people who are in that position, who maybe have experienced sudden success or are just going to the next level in their business past, either creeping up on or passing the $1 million mark, to essentially work through their champagne problems, which are all the new suite of challenges and issues that come up with success, right? So I'm sure all of you have been told, like, get to $1 million. That's like $1 million, $1 million. That's your goal, right? The truth is, like, when you get there, there's just a whole new set of problems. They might not be the same problems you had a couple years ago, but they're all new problems, and there's basically no place to work through those. And we've been through all of it. So I'm putting together a mastermind for people who are at that level, who are looking to grow beyond that, but in a way that's very much designed around their own, beliefs and values and their own selves. So I think it's going to be really fun. If you want more info in the mastermind, it's invite only, and we're just doing like kind of private invitations. So just send me a DM if that sounds like something you're interested in. Send me a DM either on Facebook, Mariah Cause, or on Instagram at Mariah P Cause. You can find me there, and just shoot me a DM and I'll send you over the details.
Okay, great. And we can put the links in the comments later too, as well.
Oh, yeah.
To both if we need to. I'm so excited about this mastermind. It's going to be good. And this is type of the conversations and stuff we're sharing here today too, I think are very similar to the type of conversations we're having in the mastermind. It's all about this back end high level stuff.
Totally.
Okay, great. Well, let's dig into the little bit of the update on the past year.
Let's do it.
Where to start?
I don't know. I want to keep it high level because this could go on for hours and hours.
I know.
But I think the biggest update is Megan's here.
I'm back. Yeah.
Megan's back.
I'm back.
So I don't know, Megan, if you want to talk a little bit about when you joined us again this year, and just we don't have to get too much into the detail, but I know we never did like a podcast or anything about it.
I know. I mean, I think the last podcast we did was when I was leaving the company.
Actually probably it was.
So, like I said at the beginning, I've been working with Mariah in different capacities since 2015. I was actually her first virtual assistant. So I won't go through the whole journey, but I've also had my own business. As a VA, I had my own business. I had multiple clients. And so I've always kind of done content creation, done my own business. And when I left a couple years ago, it was just to focus on that. And then earlier this year in January, I had my daughter, Kelly, who's now 9 months old. And everything changed for me. I don't need to go into my own personal spiel on the thought process of everything, but my priorities changed and everything I was looking for changed. And Mariah and I have been best friends since 2015. So of course I was kind of sharing some of these thoughts with her and was just like, I love running my company, but I'm also looking to just focus on my strengths and get to go all in on that. And that way, when I'm working, I'm fully present, I'm fully engaged, I'm challenged, I'm in my zone. And then when I'm not working, I can just be fully present in mom mode, which was something I was struggling with a lot. And so I was like, hey, we could use you. So I actually joined back in April of 2021. I was part-time at first, and then very quickly realized I wanted to go full-time, and we transitioned to that. So it's been incredible. I can't believe it's almost Thanksgiving. It's November, and it's been, how many months is that? 7 or something?
I don't even
math.
know.
I don't know math, but but yeah, it's been really fun. It's crazy how I was only gone for, I guess, like, what was it, 2-ish years, and the company grew and changed so much. So even though I was coming back to familiar territory, it was also a ton of relearning and getting reacquainted with a lot that had happened.
Totally. And it almost started like a little behind the scenes. It started as a joke. I was very jokingly like, imagine if you came back though, and like, what would that be? Like, that would be so crazy, and that would never happen. And then Megan was like, but maybe. And I was like, Well, what would that look like? I mean, it's never going to happen, but what would that look like? Let's just play. Let's just play a game. And then, like 2 weeks later,
I know.
it was real, which is truly a dream come true. Like to work with your best friend, like I get to do every day, and to have someone that I just like trust and get to, absorb Megan's. I mean, Megan is like my inspiration for being a better CEO. So,
I will
truly
try to receive that. I don't know how.
learn so much from you every single day. So it's been really great. And, other changes, like Megan said, going from, I think at the beginning of last year when we had like maybe 5 or 6 employees to 20 now is wild. And yes, that's been an up and down, people coming and going. There's lots of stuff that happens with that. Continuing to hone in on the dream team. And we have so many incredible people that we work with. That whole dynamic, though, of like growing your team to that size, I think most people from the outside think that sounds really scary and like something they would never want. But I can tell you it's literally the joy of my life. And it does make your life easier, not harder, when you have the right people in place.
You 2 years ago would have been like 20 people. No, my cap is 10 or something.
I would have said no. I always say that. I'm like, if someone had told me last year, this is what your business is going to look like next year, I would have opted out. But the thing that happens is that it just happens one day at a time, one hire at a time, 1 month at a time. You don't go from 5 to 20 overnight. You go from like 5 to 6 to 8 to 10 to 11. And then all of a sudden, a year later, you look up and you're like, oh, okay.
Well, and I think
it happens incrementally.
Yeah. And I think it's important too. You said you would have opted out, but that was just fear and like perceived, like what you thought it would look like at this level. And the lesson I think from that is it's usually not as scary as you think it's going to be. And since it happens gradually, like you were sharing, you acclimate, you get adjusted, and you grow as the company grows.
Yeah. And it's just I truly think, I think there's a book about this. I've never read it, but I keep hearing this like who, not how sentence. And that's what it is. It's like, if it feels like a struggle, it's just not the right people, in your team. Like with the right people, it just feels great and magical. And of course, there's always going to be like, yes, there's like HR and there's like stuff that comes up. But overall, it's like, if you feel like, oh my gosh, this is such a nightmare, it's just the wrong people that you're working with for your company, which is going to be a different fit for everybody. Yep. And we've hired so many, what I think is really cool over the last year is that so many entrepreneurs and business owners who are running their own successful businesses have come to work with us full time as employees, like Megan has. We have a handful of other people who have come into our company from running their own companies and kind of like sunsetting their companies and their programs to come work with us full time as employees. And that to me is just like the most amazing thing. And I'm honestly just honored every day.
I think it speaks a lot to our culture. And when we're creating benefits for our for our team, I think we're always thinking that as well. Our team, I mean, at least half of our employees, I think, had businesses, possibly a greater percentage than that. So a lot of the people on our team, while they're full-time employees, are entrepreneurial, and they have a lot of those desires for, they like stability, but also they want some opportunity for like income growth. And I don't know. That's another episode, but
I know we do a whole episode. I mean, I talk to so many people who have this mindset of, why would anyone with a successful business come and work with me? And I'm like, there are so many reasons. There's like a gazillion reasons why someone would make that choice. And it's sometimes really personal. It sometimes has to do with, if you can be entrepreneurial in an entrepreneurial company, then it's kind of the best of both worlds. And I think those are, some of the other like logistical updates is we have, like Megan said, we have a 4-day work week year round, which has been a huge, amazing shift for our company, and our team has just been truly life-changing for myself, and I think for everyone else. And then, just kind of really continuing to always hone in on how our company can be like modeled on that, like Megan's intuitive execution, or moving in this we have full flex time. So people are working not only remotely, but on different time zones and different, people can set their own schedules. It's just very flexible. And I think that's what keeps it where it's like, yes, it's growing and there are more structures in place than there were when there was like 4 of us, but it still feels very flexible and flowy and accommodating to everyone, myself included.
Yeah, that's the goal. So, are there any other big updates on the last year you want to share?
No, we'll have to come back and talk more talk more about that in the future. There's so many things we could share, but I think those are the big updates of just, how our team has shifted. I guess it just continues to come back as being one of the amazing things. Seriously, shout out to every single person on our team who has just had such an impact on myself personally and our clients, and yeah, amazing.
Yep. If you're on Team Mariah Cause and you're listening, we're so grateful for you. And give us feedback on how we're doing in Slack later. Are we doing
love
okay?
it. Give it to me.
No. I think it's a great opportunity for us to kind of shift into the lessons we've been learning specifically this week and the past couple of weeks.
Yeah. Okay. So the lesson that keeps smacking us in the face this week and the last couple of weeks has been slowing down to speed up. And this is something that I think a lot of us have heard. It sounds like a platitude. It sounds like a nice saying, but we have really been reminded of this over and over again for the last few weeks, slowing down to speed up. And Megan, I would love for you to talk a little bit about what that means for you. And then I have some things that I've been talking about with our clients this week around slowing down to speed up. And some of the things that looks like both practically and energetically, mindset wise.
Yeah. So I think as business owners, so often we want to move fast. We get that inspired idea and it's like go time. And we just went through this a couple weeks ago. It's like this inspired idea. And so logically, we can all look at this idea and be like, hell yeah, let's lean into it. Let's act fast. But the lesson we're having to learn is we're not a team of 5 anymore. We are a team of 20. And I think for so long we had agility and speed on a pedestal of the ultimate success of your company's operations. And I think that we have really learned the lesson that is no longer what should be on the pedestal of we are or are not operating correctly. And so to be transparent, part of what I mentioned earlier with my challenge is that we've been in a very fast change cycle this year, inspired idea, action, better way to do something, all in, let's make the improvement. And I think logically, all of us on the team agree with each decision. But I think we started to feel the past couple of weeks in particular, the weight of this constant pace. And so that was really what our transparent conversation was earlier this week was a lot of times I receive feedback from multiple different areas of the company and hear it. And I also have my own feedback and experiences. And I think I was struggling last week and earlier this week before Mariah and I talked about holding space for all of that feedback. And I think when I had the opportunity to digest all of that and talk with Mariah about it, it did come down to the fact that, you know what, it's okay if we aren't as agile as we once were. We don't have to lose touch with it completely. We don't suddenly have to be, stick to the plan for a year, no changes, but there's probably an improvement we could make in this. And so slowing down to speed up for us going forward in particular is going to mean giving things more time to kind of settle before we make a decision or make a change. Often for us, if we start the month with a sales strategy and we're not thrilled with the results, we change gears. And to an extent, sales always kind of has to be a little fluid there. But how can we bake in more spaciousness? How can we give other leaders on the team more time to test their strategies before we jump in and course correct? So that's one piece of it. And I think the other piece was that Mariah and I together were able to distill why we were moving so fast and what was causing that. And I think this is what's going to be different for each CEO if you notice the same pattern for you. And for us, it was that we kind of had this mentality that we were starting from scratch each month and starting over. And if we weren't where we wanted to be 2 weeks in, we were freaked out. And so I think for us, it's like,
And I'm an experimenter by nature, so every single month I experiment with a new thing. So it's
which
like,
is awesome.
oh, this, like, I'm like, we've got all these things I want to try and all these ideas I have and all these innovations. And so every month I'm like, we have an opportunity to do a brand new promotion we've never done before, or to do, let's try this different thing, or let's do this, let's try this behind the scenes. Let's try this new ad strategy. Let's try that. Like, I always want to experiment every month, but then it's a lot of change. And again, it's like this inspired action that's good in some ways, but also like, okay, well, let's just do this. Let's just do the same thing for like, and it's hard when I'm like a marketing experimentation is like my fun zone, which is why my fun zone is, separate from what the whole team needs to do.
Yeah. But I think that's what part of us was like, okay, how can we get out of that starting from scratch every month mentality? And we realized that for us, planning forward and understanding when our big promotions are going to be allows us to not feel so worried mid-month, or not worried, but like
Not worried, but like,
reactive. I don't know the right word for it, but it just gives us a peace of
yeah,
mind where it's like, it's fine. Like we know this is in the pipeline. I don't know.
we never really have this year. Earlier this year, we went through like such a big team change that we didn't really want to put anything on the calendar. Like we didn't want to commit to any one thing in too far in the future. And we felt like everything was in flux. And this is what happens when you're in a really fast growth spurt, is like everything is growing so fast, and everything that worked a month ago compared to like everything that worked when you had 10 employees does not work when you have 15 employees. And everything that worked when you had 200 clients now doesn't work when we just enrolled another 100 clients. Now we have 350 clients. And now the delivery of the program has to be upgraded and changed. And now the team structures have to be upgraded and changed. And now it's almost like we didn't know where we were going to be in the next month from any of those perspectives, where it's like, how many hires are we going to make next month? 1, 7? I don't know. We will see, right? And how many clients are we going to get next month? You know what I mean? 20, 40, 60? Like, and so it would kind of be like reacting to when you're in this growth spurt. Like every time that you go to this next growth and you get to this next growth, everything that used to work stops working from, the back end, and you have to like kind of reinvent every time. And that's what causes this like, just this kind of strain and constant pace of change that, like Megan said, is normal, because it's like, right, well, we need to adjust because the company looks different than it did last quarter. We have twice as many clients and twice as many team members. And so like things don't look the same. We need to like account for that. But how can we try to be a little bit more instead of just being like, let's just see what happens next month, which I think was kind of my this year, the first half of this year, I was very much like, let's just see what happens next month. And then let's like figure out what we need to do about it. Like, and so instead now we're really trying to set like, and I also think like if anyone's ever been through like a wild growth spurt year or like 18 months like that, and not every year is not going to be like that, right? And hopefully it's not, because it can be stressful and it's not necessarily like a good thing to just constantly grow at that rate. You're going to go through cycles and seasons. And so I think it's like this year that might have made sense. And now let's we didn't know what our benchmarks even were or what was possible. Now I feel like we have a good sense of like, here's our new benchmarks based on this past year of all this data that we have. And I think we can plan better than we even could have at the same time last year. We wouldn't have even known what was coming. Like we could not have anticipated what was coming for us.
And I think that's where, when we were realizing that we and the team were feeling this kind of like emotional fatigue, mental fatigue, it was like, okay, what's the root cause and how can we shift gears? And so forward planning, using the data from the past year to like plan farther. I mean, kind of basic sounding stuff, but when you're in that significant growth spurt, it becomes really hard to forward plan because
Yeah.
you spend hours planning and then everything is different than you expected. So your
Right.
plan has to kind of get redone. But even basic things like team planning and that's based off of how many clients we have and what our strategies are and how many promotions are we doing or what's our focus on next year, evergreen or promotions or a combo, and just all those decisions. So I think we spent a lot of time Monday kind of sorting through mindset blocks we were facing, going through and making some of those decisions, so that we could feel like we can have clarity for ourselves and then also be able to share that with the team so that
Yeah.
everyone feels like a sense of calm and a sense of like knowing what to expect, which is really important. And I think one thing that stood out when we were talking was this idea of manufactured urgency. And I don't know if you want to shift gears and kind of dig deeper into that right now.
Yeah, before we get into that, there's some of the ways that this has kind of come up. So when we're talking about like slowing down to speed up, I think that can look like a couple different things. It can look like, choosing to push out a promotion or push out the launch of a new product, or slowing down and being like, do I want to make these 3 hires today, or do I want to like intentionally, it could even mean like I need to hire someone tomorrow, and then you rush through the process, you hire the wrong person, versus saying like I went through that at the beginning of this year. I was like, it's going to be a painful few months where we are understaffed, but it is really critical that we hire the right people for these roles and not rush into getting a warm body into these roles. And so like that was slowing down to speed up. Earlier this year, we had a virtual conference planned for May, but then everything was shifting. Things were growing fast. It was like, we canceled it, we pushed it. And I was going through some health stuff. So we like just said, no, I don't know when that's going to happen, but it's not going to be now. That was slowing down to speed up. Like no promotions, no, like we were, we always have evergreen going, but I was like, no big influx right now. Like we need to slow down to speed up and get some, just chill for a little while before we go into whatever the next season looks like. But one of the things that I've been talking about with the clients this week was, people feeling this almost a pressure in a rush to launch their new program or do their next promotion, or could be as simple as like a virtual conference or something, whatever it is. We teach all sorts of different things, but or even like getting to the next revenue milestone of monthly recurring revenue. That was something that came up yesterday on our coaching call, was like, how quickly can I go from 20K a month to 80K a month? Like, that's like, I'm just like, that's all I want to do. And I'm like, okay, well, let's take a breath. Let's figure out like what that's going to look like. And in those conversations, what has come up for this week for me and for my clients, and what has been the sort of trend that's happening, this current, is who is setting the pace of your life and your business? Who is setting the pace that you're comparing yourself to? And we need to just take a beat, take a moment, and ask ourselves, is it me setting the pace, or is it something else? And that something else, in my excavations into myself, could be, and with my clients, could be comparing yourself to other people. Is your pace of your business that you've set for yourself, where you're like, I have to launch a new thing, I have to do my promotion, I have to get my income up, I got to do, you know what I mean? Like, what do I have to do? I have to hit this goal. If I don't hit $1 million by the end of the year, I'm a total failure. If I only hit 900,000, like, who am I? You know what I mean? Who is setting the pace? And if you took a second and you blocked out all the external noise and pressure and what everyone else is telling you and all the garbage and bullshit on social media, are you actually setting your own pace, or is it comparisonitis? Is it FOMO? Is it, looking at what other people are doing on social media and just putting yourself being like, oh, I guess that's my new goal. It's because I saw someone else was launching and they have this new goal. They just hit a new milestone. That's mine too. Guess who's done that, right? Like, and is it based in, is the pace that you're trying to keep up with and you're trying to set for yourself and you're trying to live by, and this could be in business and in life, is that pace truly coming from inside of you? Just check in with yourself. Or is it being dictated by those external forces of comparison and FOMO and just looking at what other people are doing, or scarcity and fear? So I always like to check in and say, is my pace that I feel like we should be working at right now, knowing that we're always going through cycles and seasons. There's going to be slower cycles, there's going to be faster cycles, but is the pace that I feel like I have to keep up with right now, is that from a place of fear and scarcity? Or is that from a place of creativity and abundance? And I'm not saying that every time you feel like you're moving quickly, it's always from like that negative place of fear or scarcity or comparisonitis or FOMO or anything else. It's not. But I think it's worth it to take a moment and close your eyes and ask yourself, just want to check in. Where is this pace coming from? Who is setting the pace of my business? Is it me and my goals and my personal life and my, the person that I am, whether that's like, mental illness, like it is for me, or neurodivergence or chronic illness or anything else like that? Like, is it me, or is it being dictated by everything else around me and all these external influences? And I know that for me, it is honestly quite astounding that if I take a week off of social media, how quickly my sense of self and my own natural pace returns to me. It's like so clear. And it's like, oh, those are my goals, actually. That's my pace, actually. That's my ideal schedule, actually. You know what I mean? It's not like, it's not this wild, like constant growth. And I think you're going to go through growth spurts. You're going to go through evening out and maintenance mode. You're going to go through all those seasons and cycles. But I just want us to always check in and just ask ourselves and find out. And so that's where, and so when we do that, we can also ask ourselves, did I manufacture this pace, this sense of urgency, this deadline, this due date, this arbitrary goal, right? Did I manufacture a level of stress or strain that is completely just something I imposed on myself? Like, I said that I have to launch this by the end of the year. But like, if you take a minute, did you have to? Do we have to? Right? And like, how many of the, again, connected to the pace, that's like this overall, bigger picture, looking at yourself and being like, did I manufacture this sense of urgency, and where is that coming from, that I had to hit this goal by December 31st, or that I had to get this thing launched before December, or that I had to do a Black Friday sale and pull something together in the last minute? You know what I mean? Like, did you just like self-impose this sense of urgency and deadlines and due dates and stress that's completely unnecessary? And can you just like release yourself from that? And so that, to me, is what's slowing down to speed up is meaning right now, is like checking in with myself and making sure that the pace and the deadlines I've set and the projects and everything and the scope of those things is truly set by us intentionally and is the right fit for us, and isn't just being an influence from someone else that I saw on social media doing more things than I can do.
Well, it's so easy in the online space to get caught up in just like growth at any cost. And like,
totally.
I don't even know what are we trying to hit, however much money we can make, like that mentality is so easy to get sucked into, and it's so easy to let that be your drive. So like the 20K to 80K, I mean, like, I don't want to speak to that client's experience, but like that thought process for me was always just like, growth at any cost. And like, maybe there's a middle point we can aspire to. I love big goals though. So it's not about not setting advantageous goals, but it's making sure it's rooted in like a reason and a purpose, and isn't just like because you think that's the only thing to be doing. I mean, when Mariah and I look forward, we're like, okay, let's hit here, and then like, let's just chill for a bit. Let's get here and like get cozy. And
Yeah,
I think that's okay. Like it's okay to choose that you can just get cozy where you're at for a little bit.
totally. It's like just making sure that you're doing it for you and for your own reasons, and it's with intention and on purpose, like you said, Megan. It's not it's weird because I never used to feel impacted by social media or like looking at what other people were doing. Like I'm such an independent person, and y'all know I like don't really care about I don't really care about it, but I think during the pandemic, lots of things, I'm sure all like our brains have changed during the pandemic. And I think because during the pandemic, I wasn't doing my normal stuff of like, I'm living my own life. Like I'm traveling, I'm hanging out with my friends all the time. I'm doing my own thing that matters to me. I don't care. I don't post on social media. I don't care what people know or think. You know what I mean? Like it's just not a thing. But I think during the pandemic, because I wasn't doing those things, living through social media became like some of the only stimulation that some of us had, because we had no other social interactions. And so I feel like it became more of a thing where it's like, oh yeah, like I'm in the pandemic. You might just be more like affected by it than normal.
More susceptible to it for sure. I think
Yeah.
so too. Yeah, this idea of manufactured deadlines and pressure was really impactful for both of us, I think, earlier this week in particular.
Yes. Because I
Um,
think sometimes we set ourselves a goal or deadline. I'm like, if you just push that out 2 weeks, your whole life would feel so much better. And if you have a giant sigh of relief when thinking about that, do it. Who cares? Like I was saying to my client yesterday, I'm like, whether you hit the $80,000 run rate in February of next year or in April of next year, like let's not stress about it happening at a different pace or at a different if it happens 2 months after you want it to happen, that's okay. That's like still amazing. Right. And not putting these arbitrary timelines on things, because time is fake, and universe is just gonna do whatever it's gonna do. So yeah, I really think this idea of like you don't need to create that extra stress for yourself, and checking in and being like, is this someone else's pace or is this actually my pace? And how can I get in tune with what that even is? And I know for me, it takes me to kind of separate and go into a little bit of like a personal bubble to remember and get in tune with what that is.
yeah, I love that. And I think for me, as the VP of operations, for me, slowing down to speed up, I'm thinking all of like the back end decisions, what
Mm-hmm.
information we need, what data we need, and just how to hold kind of this more internal boundary for the whole team going forward of like, how can we adopt this mentality? I think Haley, who is our
Mm-hmm.
programs director, I want to have her on the podcast. If we do this more regularly, I
Yeah.
want to bring her on. She has always been such an advocate for a slower pace. And I've always valued how she brings that to every conversation and models that so well for our team. And so I think we're all going to be trying to like model that going forward. Is how can we? I think a lot of us, if you're a team member, if you're working with someone, it's so easy to just say, yes, I'll do that right now. Yes, I'll do that tomorrow. And at some point, as team members, we have to start saying, okay, well, what's the exchange there? Or what's the realistic timeline? Or how can I slow this down? And so I think, Mariah, everything you spoke to really resonates with like the CEO and the mindset shift that has to happen as a business owner. And then you have to start to trickle that down to your team through their work as
Yes.
well.
Yes, that is like what the mastermind is all about, is that like ultimately the structures and systems and policies and how you operate as a company are like this external expression of the CEO's mindset and values and beliefs, and like it's co-created and it's collaborative, but I think it kind of spurs from the inside out. And so like, part of that could be like, for one example of that is I went through the very like profound realization of like the key to unlocking our next level and our next level and our next level is continuously working less and less and less and less. So less work hours, less work days, doing less, and continuing to simplify. And so I had to go through the like internal mindset upgrade and identity shift to be like, I truly believe, not like I tell myself in the mirror this, but like I know in my bones that the less I work and the less we work and the less pressure we put on ourselves, the more abundance and growth we'll see. And I believe that. And so in a practical sense, that translates into a 4-day work week where it's like, we're going to double our company size working 20% less, right? And we don't do like, it's not like 4-day work week, but everyone has to work longer. You know what I mean? It's like 4-day work week, same expected hours as, those 4 days would actually be. So I think there's like, and that's kind of what the mastermind is about. That's one small example, but there's these big like inner work upgrades and mindset shifts and identity shifts you have to make as a CEO that then are going to like start with you and then become policies and practices and structures and systems in your company that are an expression of those like really like abundance in the true sense of the word across every level, shifts that you're having inside of you as a CEO.
Yeah, it all starts with the CEO for sure. I mean, 4-day work week wouldn't have been possible if Mariah was stuck in this belief that, I could list like 100 different beliefs, but the idea that like the more you work, the more successful you are, like a 4-day work week could never have been possible for our team. And so for those of you growing companies, growing teams, whether you're looking to make your first hire, you're in the messy middle of transitioning from contractors to employees, you've got a ton of employees, you're probably constantly thinking about how are you running your company? How are you leading these people? How are you setting up your company and your team for success? And that's why we're so excited for this mastermind to kind of be this like CEO safe space where like you can connect with other people in the same level of business, the same growth mentality where we're not trying to go too crazy, but we still want to grow. We still want to grow intentionally. And you want to have a really good company culture and you want to have a good life and you want your team to have a good life. I think all of those values, like that's what we're creating in this mastermind space and helping our clients go through a lot of the change we've gone through up until this point. And we're very transparent with our clients about how we do some of this changes we're making and why we made them. We rolled out 4-day work week. We did a whole back end of the decisions, the logistics of the transition, the testing period, so it's really cool to get to go even deeper with our mastermind clients.
Absolutely. And that 4-day work week example is such a great example of how that shift can become tangible in your company. And when it comes to slowing down to speed up, it starts with that belief, right? Like energetically and mindset wise, you have to know that in the same way that I know like working less days and less hours is the key to unlocking like whatever the next level looks like for us. For slowing down to speed up, it's like, I know that it's divesting from that belief of like success loves speed. You ever hear that where it's like success loves speed, like money loves speed or something like fast, fast, fast. And divesting from that and really truly believing like, oh, like I can grow. Actually, like I can hit all my goals on any timeline that I desire. And it's not a race and it's not a rush. And just knowing that like, if you move at a different pace that doesn't put you behind, it just puts you on your perfect path. And feeling really good and secure about that and feeling like, wow, this is so delightful because I'm just like really getting to move at a pace that feels good for me and doing the right amount of work every day that feels inspiring. I'm not pushing myself. I'm not stressed or strained. So I think that those are some great examples. And I'm really excited to work with people on these deeper, big, navigating these really big, like internal and external changes that happen at your company at that level.
And the up levels, all the stuff that happens with an up level and some growing pains. Also
lots
fun.
Of growing pains.
Yeah. Well, so if people want to know more about the mastermind, they should send you a DM, right?
Yeah, send me a DM. Mariah Cause on Facebook or Mariah P Cause on Instagram. Just send me a DM and we can have a little chat and see if you're the right fit.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad we went live. This
I
was really
know.
fun.
So it's
Um,
really fun.
I think we will probably be doing more of these after the Thanksgiving break. So if you are here with us live, or maybe you're watching the replay and you have anything you're curious about with running your business, whether it's from the CEO perspective or operations or truly anything, I'd love for you to drop a comment below. Let us know kind of what questions you have, what you'd love to hear us share more about. I think we're really excited to be kind of showing up more and sharing more behind the scenes and just being. We were really transparent in this call, and so I think
I
it's
know.
fun to like. I think it's nice and not only for us to be able to digest what's going on, but hopefully for those of you out there running a business too, it can be kind of a space to know you're not alone and you're not the only one struggling with things. And even the people who are quote unquote farther along than you, or maybe who you like think have it all figured out, they're all going through their own uh, areas of discomfort and areas of improvement and lessons learned. And, that doesn't really stop. So it's just about continuing to work and grow through that and get the support you need to do it easier.
Totally. New levels, new devils. Like I said, champagne problems. Like you will definitely just it's not the same problems you had, before, but there's a whole new set of them that you get to go through. And honestly, I think it's pretty fun to figure them out, especially when you have a community of people to do it with.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much, everyone who was here live or watched the replay. Keep an eye out because I think we'll be going live again, like I said, in a couple weeks.
Awesome. Thanks everyone.
Thanks.